welcome to the PoppyHarp Inspire Podcast. I am so thrilled to be able to share another set of incredible harpists and musicians for this year's podcasts. We are so lucky, and thank you so much to all the harpists and musicians that have got involved. We have an incredible lineup for this year, so strap in for an awesome adventure. There will be one new video podcast released every month this year. Thank you for your support and your suggestions. Hopefully I've fulfilled them all, but if you have any more, please do get in touch at info@poppyharp.com. Happy poppy harping, everybody. Today I have the privilege of announcing Bethan Conway as our guest today. She is a harpist from Wales. She is also a new mum. We talk in this podcast all about work-life balance. Bethan is smashing it as a new mum and also maintaining her vibrant and extensive classical harp career with weddings, performances, ensemble playing, working with composers. She's an absolute dynamo. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed chatting to her. Happy poppy harping, everybody. Hi, Bethan! It's so lovely to have you on the PoppyHarp Inspire Podcast. Woohoo!
Oh, thank you so much, Fran. It's such a pleasure to be chatting to you. So thank you so much for having me.
It's so great to have you because you're quite well known in Wales, but maybe not so much, I'd say, the side of the pond, but there's not a pond.
I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
The line, the invisible line.
Exactly. And a little bit of the northwest because I sneak onto the border basically. So yeah, but a northerner, I suppose.
We're getting you. We're pulling you slowly into England.
Absolutely.
But you were in England a lot. You studied at the college, didn't you? So...
I did. Yes, I did my 6 years down at RCM in London. So I did my undergrad and then straight into masters. And then, moved back home as such, home to the countryside.
So you didn't have a break between those two. So was the pull to home just because you'd been away for so long?
I think so, yeah. It's always the way, isn't it? Because when I lived at home, as much as home was lovely, I was like, I need something where there's a bit more going on. I'm from a tiny little village and thought, right, I need city life. And then kind of realised after a couple of years that I don't think city life was quite for me. So as much as I always say I'm so grateful I had that opportunity, I did love studying in London. I was always ready to come home. And I had a lot of work at home as well, which I was really lucky to say, really. So yeah, it was nice.
What work did you come home to?
So I actually kept my students going whilst I was in London. So I had, so I used to come home sort of every fortnight and do a little Friday, Saturday teach, back to London on Sunday. I was on that Chester to Euston train, like, goodness me, multiple times a week, let's say that. So yeah, and then I was coming home for some gigs as well. So if I could time the teaching with weddings, orchestral work as well, Saturday concerts and stuff. So it worked quite well. It did work out.
I did the same as you. I went to Birmingham and I loved the vibe and the buzz. I say I loved it. It was a good experience. Yes. And now I'm back in a little village and loving the slow. You forget how nice it is to not be rushing.
Exactly.
Rush, do you? You can just enjoy the breeze.
Yeah, it's such a nice, it's a balance, isn't it? It's not, I always say I love to visit. I use London as an example, but any city, but I always like that kind of coming home after and stuff.
And did you have your personal family ties while you were at uni? So did you come back to your now husband? Or...
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I met him, even though I met him at home, I was second year of uni at the time. So he was in Bangor University at the time. So our part of North Wales in Flintshire wasn't the middle, but we both used to come home to visit our families and each other. So yeah, definitely. And I used to, when I come home, I would stay with mum and dad and my sister. So it was, and seeing family whilst I was home, absolutely. But yeah, so that also makes a difference, doesn't it?
You got used to the busy musician life, because I think it's really hard for a partner to understand the 24-hour can't, but also just your brain ticks at different times.
Yeah.
People come home at 5 and then they're like, oh well, I'm done at 5. But at 9 o'clock you can be, oh well, I could just practice that. Or
yeah, exactly. It's such a different lifestyle. I'm quite lucky because, like, even though he's not a musician, he plays guitar, so he's got that interest there. He's quite happy to come and watch concerts, orchestral stuff. But yeah, it is, and I think it's been a learning curve for both of us, so he can see how I work and I can also see, actually, he finishes work at 5:30 and that's him done. And that's something that I'm starting to try and learn even more at the moment. So
Yeah, the work-life balance is so tricky, isn't it? When you're trying to get out there and maybe you're taking on slightly less well-paying work.
yeah,
So you feel like you have to take on more, and it's almost that cycle of being really picky about what you're going to choose so you don't burn yourself out,
yeah.
but also making a career for yourself. That balance is so tricky, and it's even harder when you have little people.
Yes, it really is.
So tell us a little bit about your lovely baby boy.
Yeah, so I have a baby boy called Noah. He was born September last year. So yeah, he's growing so fast. It's crazy. Yeah, and it's just I've always known I wanted children, so we knew that well we hoped that that would be on the horizon at some point. But yeah, the balance in it's tricky, as you know yourself. And I think also because we take stuff on so far in advance as well. So weddings is a great example of that. I did a wedding yesterday that I had booked in before I even knew I was pregnant, So how do you deal with that work-life balance when things are already there? I think that's the challenge I found. So now I can start being a bit picky and choosy, but as I've said to my husband, I was like, we don't see the effects of that until next year, for example. But yeah, no, it is amazing. And I'm really lucky to have such a good support network because I got back to gigging quite soon. I think he was about 12 weeks when I did my first concert back. But my mum came along, or Connor came along and brought baby with them. So, he could have a little feed in the breaks and things like that. So it worked really nicely. But yeah.
Okay, you either sent me a picture or I saw a picture online of feeding him, and it's people don't realize how much mental space that takes.
Yeah.
And I've done exactly the same thing as you. I've really culled my weddings because my kids are at club age.
Yes.
So Saturdays is a huge, and you have to make that shift in your brain. You go, okay, what I did was when I'm on my deathbed, what do I want to remember? Do I want to remember all of those weddings and the money I had? Or do I want to remember them doing their little dance classes or their football or stuff like that? And it's really hard because you do have to pay a mortgage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you also have to try and balance that. Okay, well, I'm a mummy, and how do I do that? And I don't know how you feel about this, but because my partner works during the week, it's not so much of a compromise for
Mm-hmm.
him. Whereas
Yeah.
I've really struggled with that. I've felt because I'm mummy, it's almost like you're the default parent. So
Yeah.
you're expected to do all of these things. Whereas when daddy goes to things, it's like, oh, daddy's here. Little things like when he goes to Asda, they'll always compliment him and how good the kids are. And I've never had that. I've never had anybody go, oh, you're such a good mom.
It's just a given, isn't it, that you're going to do those things? And yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know how have you found that at all, or
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, it's just kind of assumed that, mummy is taking baby everywhere. We had this discussion last night about baby groups because I go to a few little like classes, baby groups and stuff. And so my husband's work pattern's a bit different because he has to work one weekend a month. So then he gets a little midweek day. And I said, well, why don't you take Noah to a little class? And he was like, because dads don't do that. And I was like, but they can. Why can't they? It is it's interesting. I think even he expects that I will go to those things. So yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how it is just expected.
and it's even little things, isn't it, like having a wash.
Yeah.
You have to plan everything. So one of the things I really missed was practice.
Yes.
You navigated practice, but I'm still struggling to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one at school now, so I thought I'd have more time, but
maybe not. Yeah, no, that it is challenging, and it's worked kind of both ways for me because I've struggled to practice. I've found like, oh my gosh, I don't feel on top of things sometimes. It always works out well, but you know how you feel yourself. But then I did a project in March. It was a piano project actually, where I was accompanying a come and sing, and there was like some tricky rep And it made me prioritize so much better than I ever would. And they actually, it was really nice. They complimented me and said, "Oh, you were really on it. Well done." And I was like, "Do you know what? That means the world, because I did really work hard." And it might have been just like 15 minutes of practice, but it was good practice. So that's one thing that's, yeah, maybe I've improved how I use my time. I can use my time a little bit better possibly now.
Can I dig into that a little?
Yeah.
How do you make a practice a good practice?
That's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose from like a teacher-student point of view as well, I would always say, even though what you're worried about or the hardest piece might not be what you want to tackle, make yourself tackle that first. And I have to do that myself, because I'll enjoy playing, the nice little kind of readable things, but it's the tricky stuff that you need to start with that, I always think. And then once you've done that and you've worked, even if it's just on a section, slow practice, separate hands practice. I like working in patterns as well. So if I've got something that's kind of very, I don't know, lots of arpeggios and things, I like to work in chords, things like that. That's kind of how I approach things anyway. But yeah, I have to make myself do the worst job first, otherwise.
You said you planned it. So do you write it down, or do you just kind of go, okay, at 6 p.m, that's my practice time? What do you do?
Yeah, try to sort of plan. In terms of timings, I didn't really plan very well, but I would plan what I was going to, like what piece or which repertoire I was going to approach in that time. And sometimes it would be practice with baby Noah, like at my feet, sitting, playing with something. And, sometimes he's quite happy. Other times I'll get 5-10 minutes and then that's it. You've had your time now. But yeah, so I quite like writing things down. So I would just sort of say, right, I'm going to do that piece. And maybe I use my iPad quite a lot. So put it in a little playlist of priority of what needs the most work. What can I read potentially not on the day, but what can I leave a bit later, that sort of thing.
I am total polar opposite. So if I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'll be like, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
I'll procrastinate with a million other things. So usually I have to do like a bit of cleaning or something where I feel like I'm being naughty to go and practice.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. And I'm not very good. I don't want to say I'm not a very clean person. That's not true. But my house is not spotless, let's put it that way. But when I've got practice to do, my house is more tidy.
The combination of a harpist and a mum.
Yeah.
I don't think a house is ever tidy. But I'm also, interestingly, you use iPad. I can't, if it's on a screen and you take it away, I can't work like, because once it's gone, it just doesn't go into my head. So I did a year's worth of social media planning. I thought, I'm on it, great, fantastic, did all of the writing, everything, and I just forgot I did it.
Yeah.
until last week, actually. I went, I did all this work, what am I doing? So I use paper. I'm all paper and post-it notes and everything.
Yeah. It's isn't it?
Yeah. It's finding out what works for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bit strange in that if I'm working on like orchestral stuff, if I was doing an orchestral concert, I would always have paper scores, but like gigs, I would always have PDFs and stuff. So yeah, it sort of depends what I'm doing as well.
So how do you deal with the overwhelm? Because you've got all I'm presuming you have overwhelm sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, mummying, orchestral, weddings, teaching, just admin, sending voices and getting all of that side of scheduling and things. How do you deal with the overwhelm?
I don't always deal with it, I don't think. No, we try. The admin is probably my like shortfall. That's where I struggle the most, I would say. And I forget that when I take on a gig, I forget the admin that comes with that. So you think, oh yeah, it's a wedding, I'm free that day, but you forget all of the things that go in advance. So at the moment, because of this whole trying to get a bit better work-life balance, if I'm already working on a day, so for example, I've gone to do an orchestral gig, usually 2 till 5 rehearsal, bit of a break and then the concert, I'll try and get a little bit of admin done in that break because it's already a work day. So I'm trying to not let it eat into a day off, for example. Or if I'm teaching, so I do a Monday night, I teach at home. I'll maybe go into my music room sort of half hour early, get a little bit of admin done, and then do the work. That's what I'm trying to do. It doesn't always work like that, but that's the plan.
I've definitely done exactly the same. And Saturdays, if it's not a gig or a wedding, that's my day off. I
Yeah.
do not go. Well, I'm very lucky. I've got a separate room in the house that I lock. I do not go in that room. Even if I need something from that room, I go, no, there is no work today. I'm not going in that room. And I used to take things like my iPad out and do a bit of work on the sofa. And I thought, no, actually, this
No.
work is going to be in that zone. I don't know whether you do anything like that.
Yes, exactly the same. Yeah. So we converted our garage into a little music room. So it's perfect. So it's just across the garden. So yeah, you've got that little bit of distance of right, work is staying there. It's nice as I can look across the house. I can see in the kitchen window. And I think particularly when Noah was like baby, really young, he would settle by people walking him around. So I'd be working in here and just watch them, pacing in the kitchen, giving them a little wave. So yeah, I can see what's going on, but it's that little bit of distance of, yeah.
That distance is lovely because I've just got a door.
Yeah.
I can
You
hear,
can lock, at least you lock it.
Yeah, I can hear it and I'll get a little tap going, mummy, go, and I have to quickly mute myself when I'm
yeah, this is it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a good idea, having that out little bit of separation. Because other work, normal work, you do go out. I know lots of people work from home now, but you do go out to the office, or you can work from a coffee shop, which is just a completely separate space. I do think we have quite a big ask as musicians to try and work and play at home.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, and it's never ending, I think, isn't it? Like we were saying before, it is hard to just put a stop on that. You've got to have quite a lot of self-control, haven't you, and not reply to email at silly times of day.
Sure. Just now I've had 3 different people email or just popping up on my screen. I think I should have turned that off. Had a really nice text from a student, and I've had a really nice email from somebody I've sent an arrangement to. So it's lovely. It's all popping up, but I'm thinking, no, I'm concentrating. Bethan is here. But
no, I get it though.
Even harder when you're sat on the beach or something with buckets and it comes through and you think, I'll just reply to that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always that, I'll just do that one thing. But that's kind of, you got to sort of, it is. I think it's a bit of self-control and being strict about it as well, isn't it? It's very tricky.
Yeah, but I think you're doing it. You're smashing it, absolutely smashing it. So what have you got coming up? What exciting things have you got coming up?
So, there's lots of nice things happening, lots of weddings. Orchestral concerts tend to like sort of quieten down a little bit over, I was going to say over Christmas, over summer. Where are we in the year? But yeah, so the National Eisteddfod happens in Wales the first week of August, so that's kind of my next big thing. It travels around different parts of Wales, but it's very excitedly it's coming to Wrexham, so that's the next county to me. I'm in Flintshire, but Wrexham's literally sort of 20 minutes down the road. So I've got a few lovely concerts with that. I've got a flute and harp concert on Monday the 4th. So we've got a little lunchtime recital. And it's nice because the flautist I work with is one of my very best friends as well. So we always have such a ball together. And then on Tuesday the 5th, slightly different, not harp related, but piano related, I'm accompanying some singers that are singing some snippets from a new commissioned opera that happened last year. It's about the Gresford mining disaster with a new sinfonia. So I'm accompanying that. And then what else do I have on?
That because you're not just a harpist. You are a harpist, but you're not just a harpist. How do you balance that? Because that's blown my mind. I forgot that you even did that because I've got my harp and I've got my admin and I've got my online harp school and things like that. But factoring in, I've actually tidied away my piano. I've gone, no, goodbye piano.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the loft.
Oh.
How do you build that in as well? That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's always been a bit of a kind of juggling act, I think, for as long as I can remember, even back in school with practice and stuff. The truth is I could never decide between instruments. So even though, yes, I am probably more a harpist now, I think it's just because of how work was falling. When I did my music college auditions, I auditioned on both. I got into Royal Welsh and Royal Northern on piano, and then I got into the London colleges for harp. So it was a bit of a choice. Do I want to go to London and do harp? do I want to go elsewhere and do piano? It was tricky. Nowhere allowed joint principal study. It was always a bit of a, I don't know, people don't like it so much today. It's not widely done. But RCM allowed me to do second study piano, so that kind of swung that decision for me as well. So I knew that I could keep the two of them up. And it's very different work, I think, as well, because even though I do a lot of solo concerts and orchestral stuff, well, and weddings on harp, for piano, I'd say I do a lot more teaching and I do a lot more accompanying. So it's kind of different vibes as well.
Yeah, and that explains why you chose London as well, because I could have gone to London and I had the choice between London and Birmingham. I didn't actually apply to Royal Northern. It seemed a bit too far north.
Yeah, that happens.
My family, but I wish I had, because I think Era would have been incredible. Back, she's not there anymore, but back when she was there, incredible. And I do still toss up. I go, oh well, I could have learnt with Gabriella, and the more I've got on with Gabriella, I think, oh, she's amazing. So when you're auditioning, I always say go to everyone and actually have lessons with people, because I had lessons with Yayan and I had lessons with Imogen and Charlotte, and I got to know quite a few people, but I didn't actually ever have lessons with Cassie at Birmingham. And then I got to Birmingham and I picked Birmingham because London was a bit busy and a bit expensive.
Yeah.
Why would I? And she taught at the academy as well, and I thought, well, I could either go to the academy and pay a lot of money, or I could get the same teacher and go to Birmingham and pay less money.
Exactly. Yeah, it's balancing it. You just mentioned Gabriella, and actually she when I auditioned at Trinity, we had this conversation about piano in harp, and she had probably my favorite piece of advice and quote ever, because she said, you don't have two husbands, you might have a husband and a lover. And that was how she described my piano harp relationship. So she was like, you can have it as 51% and 49%, but not 50-50. And that stuck in my mind. And I guess that's it. At that moment in time, harp was that 51%. So that's kind of,
your husband, is it? Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. Gabriella, if you're listening to this and you have not met Gabriella, go and meet Gabriella. She is just, we need to get her on the Inspire podcast. One of the most enthusiastic, energetic, positive, incredible technicians and performers, and you will never meet anyone like Gabriella.
No, she's amazing. And do you know what? She probably doesn't actually ever remember saying that to me, but it's stuck in my mind. I can hear her saying it, and that was 12 years ago, maybe. Yeah, it does make you think.
So incredible chatting to you today, Bethan. Thank you so much. I think the takeaway is definitely we're all learning, and just surround yourself with beautiful people to build you up when you're feeling. Everybody has those days.
Exactly.
Do you ever have those days? I'm rounding off, but actually I'm going to ask another question now. Do you ever have those days where you think, I can't be a musician, and you have those major, I'm going to have to be, at the beginning of the year, I actually thought in my brain, I'm going to have to go into sales or something, like this is not viable.
Yeah. And it's come about since being a mum, actually, that I can't sustain this life whilst being a mum. And it has been really, really tricky, because mum guilt is like a real thing, as you know. I had a situation recently. I've been asked to go into Liverpool Philharmonic to do some extra work, which is amazing. I'm super, super excited. Part of the patch falls on Noah's birthday. So I was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And then my husband was like, you have to do it. And my mum said, you've got to do it. So we've worked it round, and, I can still spend some of the day with him. And we've got the weekend after his birthday, which is totally free to do the party, but it's in my mind thinking, how do I do this? How do I be a musician and a mummy? But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it has crossed my mind. They don't know.
In your head. So you just move the date. Things like I worked on Father's Day, but that means we moved Father's Day to Saturday, and it just becomes a new day. And I've done that with Christmas before. I've had to do a Christmas gig. So we did Christmas on I think we did it on the 18th. It was something ridiculously early, and I just worked the whole of Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's just a day.
It's just a day. Exactly. But yeah. But that thought has certainly crossed my mind, but I think we're getting there. I think we're finding the balance and making it work.
I definitely think you're finding the balance. And thank you so much for taking so much time out of your Noah time to come and talk to us and show us that we're all human and we're all thinking it and we're all going through it and trying to find this balance. And it's almost impossible, but if you surround yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. Support network. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And thank you from everybody. I hope you enjoyed talking to us. We've loved having you. And hopefully you'll come back and talk.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much.
See how you are, how you do. Or maybe we'll recap this time next year.
Oh my gosh, I have a toddler by that point.
Oh, it's a new world.
I know. Can't wait. Thank you so much, Fran.